Kurouzucho, a small fog-bound town on the coast of Japan, is cursed. According to Shuichi Saito, the withdrawn boyfriend of teenager Kirie Goshima, their town is haunted not by a person or being, but a pattern. Uzumaki, the spiral, the hypnotic secret shape of the world.
What we do here is go back.
Welcome everybody to another exciting episode, another edition of A Week in Geekdom here on YouTube. I am very excited to finally bring you a horror review. I haven't done that in a while. What better way to ring in the Spooktober, as they call it, than with some horror manga action, this time with Junji Ito's classic Uzumaki. I want to give a big shout out to my friend Nick for actually getting this for me back in Christmas of 2016, if you can believe it or not, and it took me this long to read it because I am lazy. But yeah, we finally read, I don't know about you, hopefully you did read it. I did read Uzumaki by Junji Ito. I am not proficient in this genre at all. I am a wuss when it comes to horror, so I try to avoid it, but on occasions I tend to really dig it. Such is the case with this book. It's fantastic. It's really cool, really spooky, and if you love body horror or obscure Japanese scary tales, then this is the book for you. Basically, a town is very eerie, very spooky, and the main leads know that something is up. Now, Junji Ito is proficient in this genre, as I've mentioned, and he's written several classics, and this is one of them. He got his experiences from living in terraced houses when he was young, and the idea of the environment itself being the force of nature, being this force of nature, I should say, where you can't escape from it and you have no control over it, and is actually the cause of the fright. In the case of Uzumaki, we're taking the spiral, a very simplistic but beautiful design from nature, and in several Japanese media it's always presented in a positive way, this time in a very creepy and negative way. And when I say creepy, I mean like scarily frightening and just scarring, because after I was done reading this, I was looking into the whole spiral thing and finding that a lot of things in nature do have spiral related things, whether it be whirlpools, that's where the name Uzumaki comes from, or whether it be the shell of a snail, or even our galaxy, hair buns. The spiral is everywhere, man, and you could literally form a cult of the spiral. Now, the book has a bunch of short stories that meet up at the end to form this huge story of epic proportions of this town that's cursed by this weird sense of dread and the spiral, if you will. Several people are attuned, and they know where to look, and they're obsessed with it, and this crazy obsession sometimes lead them to their death or their insanity. And in the case of our protagonist, this couple that I mentioned at the beginning of the video, Saito and Kirie, it's up to them to at least either escape or figure out what the heck is going on. Now, most of the stories don't, the short stories don't relate to each other at first glance, but if you keep reading on and you keep looking at the layers that Ito is presenting us, the reader, you will find out that yes, every single story is connected in some shape or form to the overall picture. And I could go on into detail, but I don't want to spoil it for you guys, but this is a very interesting book with beautiful artwork, which I remember thinking when I first read it, how every single face, every single body is so anatomically correct. Even the horror stuff, even with dismembered bodies, twisted up creatures, and overall weirdness, it's all just great, and it oozes with personality. It's creepy, it's eerie, it's just really spooky, but at the same time, it feels real. And even though this book was written in the 90s, it doesn't really matter. You could read it at any point in time, and it belongs in your own time period. I don't know how he was able to achieve that, but it's really great. It doesn't feel like I'm reading something that took place in the 90s. It might as well have taken place yesterday on this cursed town, if you will. Now, the book is pretty big, with a very solid binding, and the art in it, like I mentioned at the beginning, is pretty great. And I'm going to show you this piece right there, which is my favorite, one of my favorite short stories in the book, Medusa. And no pun intended, it's just really good stuff in my opinion. And I'm gonna show you an image, and hopefully you guys aren't too spooked out. Here's some coloring right there. It's all kind of freaky deaky. It's not your typical horror about a slasher or a demon or a ghost or aliens or none of that. It's more about nature itself, and it takes the role of this sentient or unconscious beast that haunts this town, and how it affects the people around it, and how they can't escape, or how will they escape, stuff like that. It's very cool. I really recommend it. I think you're gonna have a fun time with it. You know, it's stuff like this. You know, it's very tame compared to other stuff that you're gonna see in this book, especially the mosquito story, the lighthouse, the snails, and the Jack in the Box. I think those were my 4 favorite stories. They're really special, and I kind of don't want to show them off because I want you to read it, and if you're interested, I want you to read it and find out if they freak you out or not, because they certainly did for me. But overall, man, just really cool stuff, really great art. If you love horror, if you want to get a good scare readathon going on, this has to be in your collection. Uzumaki, great stuff, and I do think Ito definitely did a proper finale with this. I was scared as I was reading it that the finale was going to be a little bit weak, but it's not. Depending on your standpoint, it could mean so many things to so many of you. I thought it was a perfect send-off for this book. The finale was great story. The characters are actually really interesting, really human. Even with the whole supernatural thing and otherworldly stuff that's going on, it still retains its humanity, as these characters are going through some really weird shit and finding themselves in the weirdness, I guess. I don't know. I just think they are well written, and Ito certainly does a fantastic job. Look at that. Look, this is some of the things that I was mentioning about earlier with the anatomy of the characters, and no matter what is happening, like, I don't know if you can see the faces on the boys and Kirie right there, the girl, and everybody. You know, it doesn't matter the situation that they're in, you get what they're going through, and it expresses itself not because of the dialogue, but because of the drawing, and you get the fright or the anxiety or whatever they're feeling, you get it through the drawing. And I think that's what makes this book extra special, in my opinion, aside from the spooky stuff. So yeah, spirals. This town is contaminated with spirals. I highly recommend it. Uzumaki's great. If you want to have a fun time, then definitely pick this up. Let me know down below. 1, what did you think of Uzumaki, spoiler free? And 2, when you read it, if you have read it, did you start looking for spirals in everyday things? I'm curious about that. Let me know down below. So yeah, as always guys, thank you for following, subscribing, liking, and doing all the awesome stuff that you guys do. You can follow me on your favorite social media platform. Just type "A Week in Geekdom" and I'm there for you guys. Alright, I've got more books to read and review, and I will catch you on our next episode. That's some freaky shit right there.